Hey, I'm Rod Johnson, and I am a 1 year boater, new boater. So July of last year, we of 2020 rather, we purchased a Harris Solstice 230. It has a 200 Merc on it. First time boat buyer, definitely, trying to figure out what boat. So that was obviously a tri-tune boat. Looked at your information and helped a ton on trying to figure out what to get that would work for the needs of our family. I would say that I wish I had had that info before the first time we went in the water. That is a for sure. So I would say that we didn't do thousands of dollars of damage. We didn't hurt anybody, but we were definitely easy to spot as new boaters, and launches and recoveries were not smooth. Lots of anxiety, and I think we would have had a lot less of that stuff if we'd have seen your information first. It was super helpful, and I can say it on the backside, having experienced it, how you're so on target with that information. It's very comprehensive, from courtesy, from knowledge, boating, navigation, and then the actual operation. This is stuff you don't get in the manuals that come in your packet when you leave a dealership or a driveway. Well, I think it is not intuitive that a boat is not a car. I think most people think a boat is a car. Well, remember, a car is contacted to the ground. A boat is not. It is, so it doesn't really have real brakes. There's no positive stopping. Yes, you can reverse a motor, but that is not the same thing as braking with a car. It is propelled from the rear. That is definitely different with what you do with steering. You only steer when you have propulsion. And I know these are old topics for people that may be listening to this, but for a new boater, you don't realize any of that stuff. And that is the things that are going on when you are panicking at the dock and you can't figure out what to do, is because you don't fundamentally understand what is going on. And those things you cover. You go from the baby steps of that kind of stuff to what I call the money move, which is the pontoon pivot. So being able to pivot the boat in slow speed, 360 degrees, without it moving forward or aft. If you can get that move down, and it is not difficult, you just got to understand how the boat works. But if you can get that move down, you can do about anything in any dock, anywhere. And that one was a super valuable. I'd never thought about that maneuver, and it makes so much sense. So that's the money move for me. Oh, I think it was super helpful, and I love that you have the multiple angles. I mean, I've covered a bunch of different YouTube resources, and it's only the single person perspective. And you've got multiple cameras with multiple views of what is going on. So you can see what you're doing at the console or the helm. You can see what the bow of the boat's doing. You can see what the stern of the boat's doing. You've got more of a wide angle view where you can kind of see what the boat is doing, but you've got multiple cameras going on. And I think that's super helpful because it gives you a feel of what's happening all around you. And the thing about boating that I think is maybe more true, probably shouldn't be, but I think it is, versus cars, is what was in my head, is there's this 360-degree opportunity for good or bad to occur in boating. About the only thing maybe not happening is dropping stuff from the sky, but there are things that are either coming to you or you're coming to them from 360 degrees. And that is what is very different about boating versus driving a car. And you cover a lot of things that make that, I think, safer. I think it may make it more effective and a whole lot more enjoyable for your passengers. And that kind of information, it's one of those kind of things that, yeah, I get it, but until you really think about it and get in a boat and do it, and then start being aware of it, those are good things to know before you start doing that stuff. And they would be very helpful to the new boater. Well, I would say that the best pontoon, if they were doing a pontoon, best pontoon boat captain series would be good to look at. I know you have other boats that you do that. So best captain on the water, boating captain on the water would be useful. Those are the things that are not going to be in those 3 manuals that you get from the dealer or the driveway, you know, the trailer, the motor, and the boat. Assuming you get any of those 3, you're not going to get operation kind of information. And you can play the game, and a lot of people do it to varying degrees of success if I'll figure it out. But in the meantime, I think the joy, you know, when I think about what your videos do, I think it really compresses the time that you can get from newbie to really enjoying boating. And it makes that time much shorter, makes you much safer, more effective. And I think it really lessens the risk that you're going to either get somebody hurt or do expensive damage to your new boat or new to you boat.
Yeah.
And either of those things can happen because boating is just significantly different than driving a car. And I think the average person thinks, hey, if I can drive a car and drive a boat, and I would say you can, but you can't do it as well because all of the things you take for granted in a car, not very many of those are happening in boating. A ton of anxiety on, you know, it was not an elegant backup to the boat ramp. I think we had a decent launch, although even then, this particular dock was not smooth all the way down. The pylons that held the dock up were on the outside of the dock. So they had those rubber things that wrap around the pylon. Well, you know, another 30 or 40 feet, there'd be another pylon and another one of those things. So you couldn't just back the boat out and then scoot up against the dock. You had to kind of maneuver it away from the rectangular pylon covering and then into almost like the parking spot. That's where the rear end is going in one direction and the front end is going in another direction. And you've got throttle in forward for throttle in reverse. And the confidence, you can hear the lack of confidence in throttle input when you're at the dock. And we experience that. So those kind of things, I think the toughest part, when you're out on the water and you're going forward, that's the easy part. It's the slow stuff in launching and recovery where you will figure out those skills need to come up the curve very quickly. And those are the places that, you know, cause opportunities for a lot of anxiety, a lot of yelling. And you're just trying to, and everybody wants to do the right thing. They just don't know how because the moment has happened and they don't have the fundamental understanding of what to do. And so mistakes get made, wrong inputs get done, and the thing just starts kind of spiraling out of control. And I wouldn't say that you can watch your videos and immediately be perfect at that. But I would say you have the fundamental understanding of making the stress level and anxiety go down. But to be fair, you in your videos talk about how to practice. And I think the word boating and practice probably have not been used in the same sentence a lot. and you talk about how to practice so that your anxiety and your anxiety goes down, your skill level goes up. Your video goes from crawling to walking to running. And the building blocks that you're talking about is the crawling part. And you absolutely, I think, nail it with that. Those are the things that give you fundamental understanding of how to operate the boat. And if you get those down, you're going to do fine, and your anxiety level is going to be low. Everybody's going to think you're a star, and your passengers are going to be, much more appreciative, and the whole boating day is just going to go well. I mean, it's terrible to go out, have a great time, and come back and have a train wreck. And unfortunately, a lot of people go through that, and they ultimately, over time, through a lot of school of hard knocks, literally, they may get there. And that's what I meant. But I think the genius of what you're doing is it compresses that amount of time to get from don't know to let's go enjoy the boat and the boating lifestyle. And it helps tremendously. This video series was super. I thought it was absolutely on point. And I wish you the best in being able to get it to folks who need it, because there's a lot of need out there. Unfortunately, there's a lot of ignorance, and people think they'll figure it out, and they may, but boy, there sure is a lot of misery on that journey before they do.